To an out-of-towner driving across town, it don't mean anything. Just a wooden white cross on the side of the road with somebody else's name. But if you're from here, you'll know what gone too soon really means.
Hey guys, welcome to the jam session. I got Curtis Grimes today and Mike G on. We're down here in warm Tampa. Hi Mike, how's you doing today, man? I know you had a busy day. Mike, how are you feeling, my brother?
Man, I'm feeling great. Welcome back. Let's go. We're back at it again with the jam session. What's up, Curtis? How you doing, man?
What's going on, fellas?
Welcome,
you like that little wardrobe chain in the third?
There you go. Quick,
Guns out, baby. Guns out. Curtis, where are you located right now?
I'm outside of San Antonio, Texas. Our address is in Floresville, about 45 minutes outside of town, on 20 acres, surrounded by cows. So kind of my dream scenario, out away from everything.
Oh, well, my sister lives in San Antonio. Let me tell you,
hey, there you go.
Last year, I went there to coach a football game in January, and it was so cold that the wind was blowing, the wind chill was blowing so bad. I went by her house, and I said, I'm having to wear a freaking parka. And then on the bridge, it said, bridge may be iced over. It was so cold in San Antonio because my dad used to be stationed at Kelly.
You caught us on our one bad week of the year.
Oh yeah. He retired out of Kelly Air Force Base back in the day when it was there. My sister got there and never left. So I love going to Tex-Mex. Everything's great in Alamo. Beautiful place, man.
It sure is. I enjoy it. My wife's from here originally, so her family's here. I'm from Northeast Texas. This is where we settled after the second baby. You know how that works.
Hey, look, grandparents get a vote.
That's right.
Hey, so we got you on today, and do the jam session and talk. We got all kind of different musicians come on, and so I'd like to kind of ask you a question. Describe your music, because I realize I know you do a little gospel, but I also see that you do a lot of different concerts, different places, and so you have a breadth of different country styles. So kind of describe your music and how you see yourself.
Honestly, I grew up playing baseball. That was my thing. So I wanted to be Nolan Ryan and pitch for the Rangers. I got a scholarship to go to Centenary College. I know you're a Bossier guy. I went to Centenary.
You did your homework.
Smallest D1 in the nation. So that was the coolest thing in the world, right? To say you had a D1 scholarship. And when baseball was done, music was my hobby. And so that's kind of what I did to fill that void. And not long after I even touched the guitar, I moved down to San Marcos, around Austin area, and pieced together a band, and we won a radio contest to open for Kenny Chesney. And so I went from like nothing to on the biggest stage of the year in 3 years span. So I didn't grow up desiring to do music. It just kind of happened. I thought I was going to be a baseball player, and obviously God had a different plan, and it's safe to say it's worked out pretty well so far. But when I got into music, I was into like drinking, partying, chase and tell, all the things that I thought you did if you were to pursue music, and just really kind of drifted away in my faith. And so I proceeded to go that route with music when I started, but I started having a lot of conviction for that, because you can't get away with it. And so I finally had a come to Jesus moment to where I was on my way to the gym at like midnight, and got on the way to the gym. This song called "Through It All" came on the radio. Andre Crouch, CeCe Winans.
Oh no! Yes.
And it hit me in that moment. I love the song, grew up singing it, but in that moment, it meant something to me that was different than I'd ever felt in my life. And it was that I knew I wasn't living right, but God wasn't through with me. Right? He still loves us. Right. He's still pursuing us, even when we kind of turn and tuck tail and run. And it was just comforting, right? Because that's what I needed. It wasn't someone telling me I was living wrong. It was that comfort of knowing, hey, we don't have to tell you anything. But by the way, God still loves you and can still use you. And by the way, he's giving you this music and talent and gift of playing music. What are you doing with it? And that was tough. That was tough because I had this gift. I'd been given all these opportunities. I was on season 1 of The Voice, and all this cool stuff had happened that I just wasn't even trying to make happen, and I realized I wasn't being a good steward of that. So the first half of my music career was just trying to make it as far as I could and be as successful as popular from worldly standard. And after that moment, I was like, all right, God, like, I don't want to not use the gift. So I'll just go lead worship in a church or something. And he's like, no, I'll put you in bars and honky tonks because that's where people need to hear it the most. And so that's what kept me tethered to the secular side of things. And I had management, booking, radio promotion, publishing deal, all this stuff. And the next trip to Nashville, I told him, hey, like, I don't want to do it this way anymore. I want to do positive, like uplifting, faith-based country music because I needed to sober up and a lot of other stuff. Just clean up and do things the right way. And they dropped me 3 months later.
Oh,
because you found some balance in life. Because Mike does the little hip hop thing back in the day. So everybody's got their journey. I can't sing, can't hold a note.
That's right. So setting up your question now, I do positive faith-based country music, but it's not from an insertion point from the church world or the Christian CCM world. It's from bars and honky tonks and writing songs about my story and my testimony, our most powerful form of witnessing to people. So every song's not necessarily faith-based or something that the church would be like, oh, that's a Christian, gospel song. Right. Some of it's like real raw stuff that either I've been through or just stuff I know about, and not all of that's necessarily good stuff, but the message is positive. So my goal is to point people to Jesus. So it's still secular country music, and some are heavier on the faith side of things, but there's a song on an album coming out I have called Between Me and Him, and it's about somebody who's experienced a loss and is just bitter at God and doesn't go to church. And at the end of the day, like, that's between me and him. We're sorting it out. So yeah, it's a I would say kind of a unique scenario to where I'm not trying to be a Christian artist. I'm a little too faith-based to fit in the secular world. So I'm somewhere in the middle, but it allows me to be able to play anywhere from a church on Sunday morning to a bar and honky tonk that Friday night, or we might do a festival on Saturday, and we use the same set for all three scenarios. So I don't change the set list at all. The only thing that changes is where we're playing. We're still bringing Jesus with us. We're still pointing people to Jesus. It's just the environment sometimes is liquor bottles surrounding us, not necessarily church pews. So that's where my music is.
So okay, let me ask real quick. So are you Baptist or
I grew up Baptist, but I had to unwire a lot of stuff because I went to the red letters and I started like seeing how Jesus navigated, and a lot of the super conservative, very churchy approach to the thing isn't necessarily how he handled people or the scenario or engaged, and sometimes it's quite opposite. So I had to kind of unwire some of the stuff that another man had taught me from a pulpit and try to break it down and saying, okay, I want to learn from the source and then apply that. And now most of it gels. But there's some things that don't.
Yeah, I moved over to Church of Christ kind of, so it's a balance where I can have some of the Baptist stuff and Protestant stuff because my dad's Catholic, so definitely I was not getting down with the Catholic thing. So we finally had to just kind of give me a little bit of this and that. Hey, Mike, do you have a question, man? Because
this is great. This is a lot of information coming quick. Curtis, you're a good guest, man. You bringing in boom, 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 bro.
Bringing the fire.
Yeah, this is great. What is your main inspiration? Like, how do you get inspired by writing your
My passion is life experiences or experiences of people close to me, because those are the things people can latch on to relate to. I am terrible about showing up to a co-write at 10 a.m. on Tuesday and trying to think of something creative on the spot. What works for me is when I experience something, or God might put something on my heart, and I pull out my phone to do the voice memo, and then I type out on the little notes. And then when I get home and get my guitar, go into town. And that works for me so much better than trying to just make something out of the air.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. You write like the lyrics and you put it together. It makes a story of what you're feeling that day. Absolutely. No, that's real spiritual. That's good. What kind of fans so when it comes to your shows, do you do regular shows or do you do gospel shows? You see? So this is the yin and the yang of the story.
Everything. It might be all ages. Well, that's the thing too, is I never pigeonholed myself to one specific target demo. And it was intentional for the longevity aspect, because
Right.
where the Texas country world, I say that's what I would be considered a Texas country red dirt artist, and that target demo is like college age party kids. So I'm not
Right.
necessarily the coolest cat in the room, but people do respect when you're trying to put some good out in the world. So you kind of get those positive and encouraging folks that still want to support you. And I definitely am not trying to just fit in the CCM or Christian box either, because that's not what I've been called to do. I've been called to go out into the world and bring Jesus into bars. And sometimes that part of the whole Christian walk gets lost too, because sometimes people tend to have this mindset of, oh, those people act like this in this environment. And if we're being honest, a lot of those folks we see in the pews on Sunday morning are folks that are out, and they may not be engaging or acting the same, but nonetheless, we can't hide from God, and we're supposed to take Jesus with us everywhere. So that's what I try to do. I try to apply it, not just talk about it on Sunday and then live how I want to live, and then try to all play like we're doing this this special life on Sunday and then go back to business. Because to me, it's all the same.
Well, I love the fact that you talk about how you take the faith, because like me and my brother had the same conversation, is that he would started doing cover songs, not cover songs, but writing his other material outside of Maverick City, and started writing other music. And what he said was, at the end of the day, no matter what song he's putting out, everything he puts out is pretty positive. He took your attitude, same breath that you're taking right now. That's a lot of energy, man. I'm serious, a lot of good energy. But the one thing I found was important is he says, always got to be able to deliver the message when people come talk to me afterwards. And because there's always one. And he says, Vince, if one person, I can talk to one person in a bar of 300, I've done my duty for the day. And so, Curtis, you're profound in what you're doing, and I love it what you're doing. So the question I got is, so how are the fans kind of reacting to that, your journey now, as opposed to what you had before? How do they think they're reacting now to it?
Well, the reason I thought I should go just do music in a church is because I didn't expect that I would just be able to start pushing faith-based positive songs into this secular demographic.
Right.
And so I expected, backlash, radio to stop playing us and all this stuff. But it was the opposite, because obviously God's in control, not us. He can do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. All he needs is for us to step up and try. And so I haven't really had much of that negative backlash. Now, there are some venues that we're not exactly just crushing alcohol sales, so they're not interested in continuing to book you if you're not profiting for them. But the other side of that is there are a lot of venue owners that will act and engage differently at the end of the night than when you got there. And we always have that mentality too. We're here to reach one. It takes all the pressure off of, how much money you make or how many tickets you sell or all that stuff. Is we're here to point people to Jesus, not cram anything down their throat. And if we can reach one person, then our work was done. And sometimes that one person isn't a person in the audience. It's one of the sound engineers. It's one of the waitresses. Wow. It might be the venue owner. So I've seen that probably just as much as someone coming up, a fan engaging, is you're able to reach people that are just there showing up to work and completely caught off guard because you're not doing what every other artist that come through there does. And they notice that something's different. Your reason for doing it's different, or the fact that you're not drinking or cussing or just acting like, there's a toolkit that a lot of people use to entertain people. And it's the same cool, oh, right, let's get hammered, let's cuss, let's just be bad. And, crowd goes wild. So when you eliminate all of those things from the toolkit, it's a different form of entertainment. So people already know like something's different and they want to come talk to you about that. And a lot of times it's going to be them sharing their story with you. Because when you lay it out there and you're honest, and you're not trying to manipulate them or create some emotional response, you'll be like, hey, y'all know me. Y'all can all go look at my catalog from 10 years ago. And that my first 3 or 4 albums is not the same as the music I'm putting out now. And I'm not trying to hide that. I'm not trying to fool you. I just started living different. And that difference is trying to live for Jesus, not just try to be as successful as possible in this music thing.
Well,
Yeah,
you should have talked
exactly.
to Mike's fan. You should have talked to Mike's fan. He's an Eagle fan. They could have used you singing at the Super Bowl.
But I tell you what, though, 60 million digital streams is not a bad thing. So your word is going out there, you know.
He's kept the door open.
There you go.
I expected that to not last very long, and venues continued to book us. Radio kept playing us, and people kept supporting us. And it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool when people positively encourage you and be like, "Hey, man, that's awesome that what you guys are doing. I appreciate it. Keep doing it."
Well, hey, before we get into that first song, Mike, I wanted to throw this out there is you never know what somebody's going through. So what I say, you know, Curtis, is when you step in on the stage or you step into an area, you may be changing somebody's life profoundly because, like I say, every day, like Mike goes to work, I'm retired military, so, you know, I go to the gym, but, you know, and I do the podcast, but, you know, you touch someone's life every day when you go and sing somewhere, and you never know what people's going through. So when someone comes up to you or somebody puts their hand on you, you may be that one person that's helping somebody with something they're going through with their mental health, you know? So, you know, I just want to say thank you to that. And then tell us the story behind your first song that you're going to sing for us.
Well, we bounced right past it, but thank you for your service, and I appreciate how you're using your platform and the people that God has put in your life to bless them. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This first song I'm going to do is the one I was talking about how it's about that person that experienced something and isn't necessarily going to church or pursuing God in the manner that a lot of times Christians think that other people should be behaving or how they should be living or what they should be doing. And it stemmed from, we were playing a cowboy church in Brenham, Texas. And this lady came up to me and she said, "I'm glad y'all played here tonight. This is the first time I've been to church in like 3 or 4 years." She said, "I lost my son to a car accident. He was in high school. And I just haven't wanted to go to church, kind of have been mad at God. And kind of the one thing that I've held on to was just I had these pictures on my phone. And so I would just kind of look through those and try to cling to the good times. But it's been tough. And this was the first time that I've gone to church. One of my friends invited me because they were doing this music thing. So I appreciate that y'all came and did that tonight." So that was awesome in itself, right? Then the next day, I get an email from a guy named Bobby Evans, who I recognize his name as a songwriter from Nashville. Never met him, didn't know him personally. It said, "Hey, I know that you do kind of more positive, faith-based kind of songs. So check these out. And if you want to record them, they're all yours." And the first song I played was this next one I'm going to do for you.
Huh.
2 and out of town or driving across town, it don't mean anything. Just a wooden white cross on the side of the road with somebody else's name. But if you're from here, you'd know what gone too soon really means. And I'm trying, but I ain't ready to make peace. And everybody says it's gonna get better, it just takes time. The more I wait, the harder I pray, but I ain't any better tonight. I stare at pictures on my phone, I get angry, I lose hope, and there's still so many things that I believe in. So if you don't see me at church on the weekend, that's between me and him.
Right.
If I ain't sitting in a pew, some of you will think I lost my faith. I spend every night talking to God, so I just don't see it that way. We're just trying to sort it out, like a father and a son. I'm sure he's got his reasons, but he ain't the only one. And everybody says it's gonna get better, it just takes time. The more I wait, the harder I pray, but I ain't any better tonight. I stare at pictures on my phone, I get angry, I lose hope, and there's still so many things that I believe in. And if you don't see me at church on the weekend, that's between me and him. I know I gotta forgive him, 'cause he's already forgiven me. But right now in that wide wooden church, one more empty seat. And everybody says it's gonna get better, it just takes time. The more I wait, the harder I pray, but it ain't any better tonight. I stare at pictures on my phone, I get angry, I lose hope, and there's still so many things that I believe in. So if you don't see me at church on the weekend, that's between me and him. So imagine me hearing this song after the conversation I just had with a lady less than 24 hours behind that. So when I tell y'all that God is just blowing my mind with what he's doing and how he's orchestrating this whole thing, it's incredible, man. And that's what drives my engine. That's what just stirs the passion, and that's what makes me care less about how many records I sell or none of this stuff, because I'm like, all right, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. He's paving the way. He's providing the people. He's providing the songs. And so whatever happens is in his hand, and I just need to stay out of the way and just trust him and do what he says. And he provides for us. And I'm not rolling on a bus. I don't have $1 million. I don't have songs on national radio, but he's provided for my family and just continues to create these opportunities. So it's fun and it's exciting.
Well, you're talking to Mike anyway tonight really hard, because it's ironic. Before you came on, Mike was talking about how he's chilling, stepping back, praying, looking at things. And ironically, we're having this conversation tonight. So, hey, Mike, God's talking to you, bro. He's talking to you.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I was talking about, the energy that I'm feeling right now, and it's just going with the flow, change with dynamics and stuff. Just going with the flow, not overthinking, not getting complicated about things, just flowing. And I understand that the energy of things, the way it's just flowing and the way it's working out, by you trying a little, but also some energy taking you to another level, So yeah, and I clearly understand that. Really, very interesting.
I tell you, I was like, "Oh man, this is heavy tonight." So as you look at your music and kind of skipped over, but I want to go back. Who are some of the artists that kind of inspired you? As coming up. I mean, I'm an old guy, so I'm an 80s high school kid. So all my guys were, like back in the day, Johnny Cash, BB King, all just that whole thing. So from your foxhole, who's really the people that inspired you in your music, and who's your inspiration? So that's twofold question.
I would say from early on, as far back as I can remember, when I was old enough to know how to change a radio dial to turn it to the station I was digging some Alan Jackson and George Strait. So the 90s country was my introduction to music and recognizing, hey, that's the kind of music I like. And then when I got older, I would say junior high, early high school, I was really into rap. Like 90s rap, like Bone Thugs. I like the fast stuff. I can't really get into the say a few words and stop. Say a few words and stop and repeat.
No,
the new stuff is I like just trying to figure out what they're saying and then say it as fast as I could. So I liked that kind of stuff. And then when I got older in high school, I started getting into the traditional country, the sad old twangy steel guitar. My grandparents' music that used to bug me 10 years before that. That's just what I started getting into. And then I discovered the underground Texas country, and it was cool because it wasn't played on the radio. You had to burn CDs. So it's really a combination. And then I like my pump up music. It was always rock, AC/DC, like So it's a combination of all that stuff, but I settled on my sound is probably more of a combination of the 90s country sound and traditional country sound. And that's just, I'm most comfortable singing. I enjoyed the deep baritone, Keith Whitley, Vern Gosdin, really like his, but those strong baritone male country vocals, that's what I like. And that's what God has blessed me with, the style of singing. So that kind of is the easiest songs to sing. And then of course I started infusing my faith into that. So it's really a combination of 90s country, traditional country sound. And it was always about lyrics. I always wanted to know what they were saying. So the lyrics are the most important aspect of the song to me. And so I like being able to understand what they're saying so I could track with the story.
Okay.
And I listen to worship now. So now I really listen to a lot of worship because I understand from practical and the spiritual aspect of what we put into our head a lot of times is what plays out in how we live our life. So once that started clicking, I was realizing, hey, in this portion of my life, I was listening to this, and this is how I was living. And when I started putting the positive stuff into my head, that's the stuff that those are the songs you started humming walking down the aisle. And it just kind of kept me thinking more faith-based kind of stuff and not necessarily secular things. Well, and what was the last thing you asked me? Sorry, I kind of.
All right. So, and who inspired you? Who's your inspiration?
The guy that really got me thinking about what I was doing with my music was another Texas country red dirt guy named Aaron Watson, and he was always kind of infusing his faith in his stuff. And when I kind of had my come to Jesus moment, we played a show with him not long after that, and he invited us on this bus, so we're hanging out in the back, and I was kind of telling him what was on my heart, and he challenged me. He said, the hardest prayer to pray is that if by pursuing this music is not in God's will, then we don't need to pursue it, right? We don't need to be pursuing something that's outside of God's will. And I took it to heart. And so that's kind of really set me on the right path. So I really owe him a lot to really defining what I was going to do with music and how I was going to use it. But vocally it was some of those people that I had mentioned. And then, like I said, writing, now it's kind of just more personal stories and experiences coming out via song.
Sweet. Mike, what you got, bro? What you got?
Man, if you can work with somebody, who would you work with? Go on tour with, do a song with?
That one's tough. We'll try to say alive. We'll try to say in the realm of possibility. This is kind of a cop-out answer, but my passion right now would be to be able to sit down and write with and pour into some of these cats that have had a lot of success at the top 40 country level. Right. Just because you can see elements of their faith sprinkled in. So you can see sometimes where they came from in their background. And then you can also see that they're playing the game and can get caught up in the game really easy. Yeah. So I would really enjoy the kind of being able to pour in and drop some wisdom and experiences and just really kind of engage with and fill them out and be like, do you kind of realize the responsibility you've been given with your music and how do you feel like you're being a steward of that? Because that question, when you stop and think about it, it holds a lot of weight. And I don't necessarily think that a lot of these cats are surrounded by people that have any interest in their well-being, and probably quite the opposite a lot of times. So, we can recognize when people are slipping, and then when they tell you their background, where they grew up and where they are now, and we try not to, assume or judge or, I've been there and done that. So I have like no elevation on my platform at all. So it's really easy for me to, even at night, we're playing to a bunch of just hammered people. Like, I've been there, I've done that. I'm not better than you. I know that, but there is a better way that has a lot fewer negative consequences. And I want that for you. I don't want you to not remember the end of your evening tonight, because that can end very, very badly. And it has for me more than once. So just being able to pour in with those guys. If I had to pick a swing for the fence and say somebody I'd want to tour with, and that's tough. Because I'm a baseball guy. I'm an athlete still. I still think like a pitcher. I don't get caught up in this music stuff. It's just a cool thing that
Mike played baseball. Mike was a baseball
I still
guy.
feel like I would want to hang out with Nolan Ryan, or like that would be my
Nolan Ryan. Yes,
more so than like a famous country guy. But
it
would be cool to go to be on any tour of a national level, just so you had the opportunity to get in front of and do what we do now on a smaller scale to an exponentially greater audience. So regardless of who it was with, that's a silly answer and didn't answer your question, but that would be more important. That'd be more important to me than who I was playing or hanging out with.
Oh, it's a great answer. I mean, your heart's still in baseball, your heart's in music. You're not a just settled guy. You're there. Do you still play sometimes?
I just started coaching Little League. 5 and 6-year-old coach pitch, and my dad was pretty hard. Like I appreciate him, I respect him, and I'm thankful that he pushed me to the point to where I was able to get a scholarship out of baseball. But there was a lot of tension because he was pretty hard, and I've seen the negative side that comes with when the dad wants it more than the kid. And so I've kind of made a vow to myself is I'm never going to want it more than my son. If he wants to extend out in the outfield and pick flowers, I'm not going to invest a lot of time, effort, and energy and get mad because he's not doing what I want to do. But if the day he wants to go 100%, I'll meet him 100%. And so I've kind of really been good about not being that guy, that dad. And so we've already done our second practice, and it's been awesome, man. I've been able to engage with them and really not take it too serious and understand the goal is to develop them, not win games when they're 5 years old.
Yeah. Good luck with telling. I coach high school football and little league football, so I will say this: you're spot on. It is to develop them, and the second is I don't need to see you on YouTube anyway because there's some crazy parents out there. But that's a whole other subject. But definitely you're right to develop them, and what you say is so true. It's a step back. I got a daughter. She's in college playing soccer right now, and my other one is a national team on taekwondo. But one of the things I constantly have to remind them is quit the sport when it's no longer fun, but don't quit the sport. Allow someone to make you quit the sport that you love, because I've seen so many kids in the recent years give up on a sport, not because they weren't good enough. It's because they fell out of love because they had a bad coach or a bad thing. So I appreciate you bringing that positivity to those kids, because coaching ain't easy these days with these parents. All their kids are going to MLB. He's 5 years old. He's 6 years old. He's going to MLB. I'm like, come on, man.
So they think. And also, too, is I want them to want to come to practice. I want them to play baseball next year. So if I try to be too technical or make it boring because we're trying to do hitting drills and focus on crap they're not going to remember in 10 seconds, then that's not fun. And so that's kind of my goal. The byproduct goal is I want them to want to come to practice, and I want them to play next year and the year after that. So it's been awesome, man.
So what song do you have to close us out tonight? And then, I was going to ask before you get into your song, do you ever do any covers or anything? Because I'm a big Hillsong kind of guy. Because honestly, I got my faith back when I started listening to Hillsong, and then it just evolved because my brother got with Maverick City. But I'll tell you what, when they changed my musical perspective on Christian music.
They elevated it to another level for a more modern audience, to where you could say, this is a good song. Yes, obviously it's about Jesus and our faith, but it's a good song, because not all Christian songs are good songs.
Right.
They're good. They have a good theme, but they can be songs that I don't want to hear again, just because, and I selfishly, I'm probably way too critical just because it's my job. But there's a difference between singing a good song and one that's just a Christian song because we can sing it in church. And Hillsong was the trendsetter for that. And then, of course, it's been elevated. And now the competition in a good way is the standard for those songs is there's some good music out there. And Elevation, Maverick City's been good about it. Elevation's been good about it. Bethel's been good about it. So we actually do worship songs.
Oh, man, you brought up Bethel. You right in California. Go.
We do some of those songs at our set at a bar. So we play our regular songs. The whole time you're kind of pointing people to Jesus in certain stories and testimonies. We play I Saw the Light every night, because the story I heard from that was Hank Williams was out of his mind, on high, hammered, drunk, everything. And his driver would wake him up when they passed this beacon of light, so he was sober enough to get out of the car and go inside. And one night she woke him up, and from the time that she woke him up, he saw passing that beacon of light, and the time he got home, he wrote this song. And it's always interesting to me that regardless of what state he was in, and the part I left out about my story about on the way to the gym is I was high as a kite, man. I just smoked a bowl. And so there's this misconception that, oh, if you're drunk or high or not right, like you got to wait till you sober up before God can use you. And that's not how it was for me. That's not how it was for that song for Hank Williams, because that song's in the Southern Baptist hymnal. And it's ironic they won't let him play at the Grand Ole Opry, but he has a song that people sing in church every Sunday morning. So the irony,
can't make it up.
And so that song really was kind of made a statement to me, because my story was very similar. In the moment that God literally turned the whole thing around for me was I was stoned, man. And some people might not understand that or get it, but that doesn't change the fact of it or what he's done since then. Right. And so I'll do one of those songs, if that's cool. I'll do one of the modern songs. All right. This is a Josh Baldwin song, probably my favorite song on the worship station these days. I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. The God of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, I'm free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth living. I wasn't made to be tending a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bet in my shame when a fountain of grace was running my way? I know I am yours, and I was made for more. All right, now I'm going to do you a little bit of a song that I wrote that puts it in my perspective, called Honky Tonk Preacher. And I have a new album coming out here in like 3 or 4 months. Hadn't settled on a date. But this is a pastor friend of mine put this on my radar. He said, regardless of what you think about yourself, you're still preaching to folks in a bar every night. So technically you're a preacher. And I was like, well, I don't feel worthy or capable, but in some ways you're right. So it made me write this song right here. He said, I met Jesus on a bender one night. Through the smoke and the neon, I saw the light. I sat there and wondered, well, how could it be that he cared about an old sinner like me? He told me how Peter denied him 3 times, and how old King David fell once or twice. About love and forgiveness, mercy and grace, how a tomb was left empty when a stone rolled away. He's a honky-tonk preacher on Saturday nights. His church is a dance hall full of liquor and lights. He's telling a story he knows all too well, about a highway to heaven off a dead end to hell. He don't do it for the money, the show, or the fame. He's a honky-tonk preacher, fit for a king. He said, I spent years in the bottom of a glass, chasing that demon, a ghost from the past, till I hit rock bottom and all I could see was a hand reaching out where a nail used to be. He's a honky-tonk preacher on Saturday nights. His church is a dance hall full of liquor and lights. He's telling a story he knows all too well about a highway to heaven off a dead end to hell. He don't do it for the money, the show, or the fame. He's a honky-tonk preacher fit for a king.
Curtis Grimes on Jam Session.
Curtis.
Mike, what you got before we get out of here, man? You got
Curtis, nice
anything,
meeting you, man. This was an interesting show. Very spiritual, very how can it be, energetic, very positive. You're a positive guy. You got a nice, glow on you, man. You're doing your thing.
Well, I appreciate you fellas having me. Thank y'all very much. Thank you.
Hey, Curtis, from the bottom of my heart, and for me and Mike T, I appreciate you, man. And listen, man, you keep the faith, keep driving, and change one life at a time. I believe that. And every day when I coach, anything you do, man, if you can make one person's life better, you may save them from themselves. You know what I mean?
Amen.
And just remember, I appreciate you. And with that being said, as me and Mike T always say, when you come out here, keep it
rolling.
Church on the weekend, that's between me and him.